morning, Cherries fans. Hope you are all well, and welcome to this 11th edition of Cherry Picking. Of course, they need no introduction. We have got with me today, of course, Matt Harrison. How you doing, mate?
Morning, Craig. Yeah, all good. Thanks for having me on again.
Not a problem. You're part of the furniture now, and another person that's part of the furniture, Mr. Samuel Harrison. How you doing, mate?
Hello, mate. I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
Yeah, all good, all good. So, of course, we had a week off last week because of the international break, which was, let's be honest, bloody terrible. Um, the Italy game. Shall we? Shall we cover that off first?
Oh, yeah, let's quickly touch on that. Yeah, might as well.
Yeah. So, of course, beaten by Italy again. A youngster scored the goal, um, and it wasn't a very good performance at all, was it?
No, there was nothing there to especially with the build up to the World Cup. There was nothing there to excite you, was there? Really?
No.
Um, yes, it's a lot of negativity going around about Southgate at the moment, isn't there? So it'd be
Hmm.
interesting to. I mean, I don't think the FA will make a change before the World Cup, but I would be very surprised if Southgate sees another tournament.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you on
Uh,
that.
I think his time's come. Um, hopefully in December we'll be celebrating the World Cup win, and we'll be looking at this saying why were we talking a load of rubbish back then. But
Yeah,
I just can't see it myself. I think the performance has been negative. I mean, the Germany game was a bit better. I mean, Maguire was still awful.
hmm,
Um, his positioning was terrible during that game. Um, and he seems to stick with his faithful, doesn't he? He loves Henderson, loves seems to love Maguire. Um, it seems to be if you play right back, you'll be in the squad.
yeah,
He loves his right backs, doesn't he? But you go and pick like five right backs, and so yeah, I don't hold a lot of hope for the World Cup.
no, no, same here. I think we'll get out the group. That's one thing I will
Oh
say
yeah,
is I think we'll get out the group because I think we're good enough to do that. But when you play a team like Brazil in a country like Qatar, which is going to be boiling bloody hot, which, it shouldn't really be hosted there anyway. To be perfectly honest, I'm going to say that right now. I do not think it should be hosted in Qatar. A, I think a World Cup should be hosted in a country that has qualified for it before. I don't know
yeah,
if you guys are with me
yeah,
on that,
yeah,
but
yeah.
um, secondly, of course, there was what's happened with all the building work around that as well. So I personally do not think it should be hosted in Qatar. Just think, what do you guys think of it?
No, I mean I totally agree with you. I mean, it there's been too many should we say backhanders
Mm,
where former presidents of certain organisations have taken. I I can't see how Qatar qualified to host it really. Like you say, they've never been to a World Cup, have they, or any
no,
major tournament? I don't think have they, and it's one of them. There's obviously the human rights issues as well. I think, isn't there?
mm,
And the way certain people are treated out there, and yeah, it's not. I mean, let's put it this way: someone could give me a ticket to every game with free
yeah.
travel, free accommodation, and I honestly, hand on heart, would not take it.
I don't think it's going to be fun. I think it's a risky place to hold it as well because, of course, there will be no drinking over there. And I think, football in the majority of the world does go hand in hand with that. But I do. do agree, that I think that fans, should respect, Qatar as a country, and therefore not, drink over there. But at the same time, you know, what's going to happen with the sponsorships? We saw in Russia, where, of course, there's lots of alcohol sponsorship there. So it's a it's a strange one. But yeah, personally, they've never qualified for a competition. Although saying that, I don't know if you guys were aware, they did actually take part in the I'm going to struggle to say this, CONCACAF Gold Cup, which is for North American countries. And they did quite well there. They had the top scorer. And they're also invited to the 2023 edition of that tournament as well. So I believe it was the US that won it, with Mexico coming runners up. But I think Qatar actually finished, quite high up in that. So you never know. You never know. But I personally, I think a team that, should qualify for a prior World Cup.
Definitely agree.
Yeah, no, yeah, you're right on that.
Mhm.
It's strange as well. You obviously, it's going to be weird stopping the season midway through, and there's a lot of sacrifices that a lot of countries have made into with their football leagues to obviously compete at the World Cup, and yeah, but apparently on a positive note, apparently Frank Skinner and David Baddiel are getting back with the Lightning Seeds and re-recording Three Lions.
Excellent.
With a Christmas theme to it. Three Lions on a Sleigh, I believe. It's going to be the apparently that is a true fact. Apparently they will be re-recording it with a bit of a Christmas jingle to it. So
Yeah, definitely. One thing as well, of course, going back to England, and I discussed with Natalie Sawyer on the show the other day, was that Gareth Southgate, took Ivan Toney into that Nations League squad, but he didn't give him a minute. And I think that is absolutely ridiculous. The main reason being is, and like Natalie Sawyer said, we know what Harry Kane can do. We know what Marcus Rashford can do. Ivan Toney deserved minutes at that tour, in those two games. Let's be honest, we were playing poorly. He could have come on and changed the game around.
Yeah, it's not the first time. Oh, sorry, Sam, you talking?
No, you go.
Oh, yeah, no, it's not the first time. Obviously, this has happened. Players have been selected for, England, and the managers use and I think Southgate's used the same term that they want to take a look at them in a training situation. But when you think, you call someone up, they travel with you to these games. Like he travelled to Italy, I believe, and trained with them out there. So not to even get a couple of minutes, from the player's point of view, it's not great, is it really? But
No.
plus with what's happened, in those two games, well, especially the Italy game, it would have been worth trying him in that game. We all know what Harry Kane can do. When he is on form, when you've got an on form Harry Kane, you know what Harry Kane can do. He should have probably been braver and, maybe even given him at least 45 minutes. He might have had 45 minutes, never played for England again. But, at least it probably would have made the, it would have made a bit more of an experience for the player.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's move off England, and we'll worry about England when it comes to the World Cup. We've been relegated from the Nations League. Do we care about that? No.
Well, I don't know. It's one of those, isn't it? Really, when you think about it, England shouldn't really be. I mean, they're going to be playing teams like, no disrespect to them, but Moldova and teams like that. When
Yeah.
really England should be wanting to compete against the better sides at all times, really. And the first round of the Nations League, when it first started, we actually got to the little finals, didn't we? There was a little semi-final and a final, and that. And
Yeah, we did.
yeah, that was quite nice. I know a lot of people sort of write it off, but if England had won that, which they should have done, really, everyone would have been quite happy with it. But a lot of people do write it off. But yeah, it's and I still don't think everybody quite understands the whole relegation side of it. But apparently it can
Affect
make the
seedings.
qualifying for the next Euros a little bit more trickier, can't it?
It can, yeah, it affects the seeding. It also, if you do qualify, then it makes, we could end up with a group. Wow, is it Group A team? So we could end up in the same group as Spain or France
Yeah,
or
so we could
Germany
have
or
a group
someone
of
like
death
that.
for qualifying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, so there is that side of things, but at the end of the day, I think we need to test ourselves against the highest teams. But the Nations League, isn't really that much of interest to me personally.
Mm.
Let's go on to this takeover talk. So, it all went a little bit quiet until some sources. I won't reveal who it is, but some sources did come out yesterday. Now, the date that has been muted, and again, I can't say how credible this information is, but there's a lot that does marry up to it. So it should be complete by the 7th of October. Now, the things that actually hint that there is something in this. Bill Foley is actually due to be at the Leicester game. So it's understood he will be flying over at some point and will be at that Leicester game. Now, if that's complete, the takeover is complete on the 7th of October, he'll be the new owner watching his first game as the new owner. I believe there is a talk that financial fit and proper persons test, I should say, has all been sorted, but I believe there is another stage of ratification by the Premier League that needs to go through, and that will take another 5 weeks. So he won't be able to get his hands on making decisions until that time. But of course, we're out of a transfer window. It doesn't really affect too much on that front. But what do you guys make of this?
Yeah, it's been a lot of I know it's been quiet on the Bournemouth front in terms of the takeover, but there's been quite a bit of publicity surrounding it. Obviously, like on Talksport, they've been discussing different things, different days, and that. And I think a big worry for a lot of football fans is the number of American ownerships throughout the Premier League. And I think across Europe, I think there's about 58 clubs that have got major American investors. So I think the worry is that with the American game, whichever whether you're looking at the MLS and or hockey or American football, they don't tend to have a pyramid like what this country's got. And I think this is one of Gary Neville's points is that they don't do relegation and promotions, and this country is awfully proud of our football structure. I mean, we've probably got the best football structure in terms of a pyramid, in the world.
Yeah.
Can 10 American? Is it 10 in the Premier League now? If we this all goes through.
Yeah.
Can 10 can 10 owners in the Premier League make a drastic change throughout the whole pyramid? I don't know. I
I
can't see it
believe
personally.
it's 14. So if
14.
14, you
So they
know,
do have the majority of the vote. Obviously, because the chairman and club representatives, they all go up to the Premier League headquarters, don't they? And they have meetings and votes and that. Because I know they've had one recently where they've tried to restructure the Carbarero Cup a bit, haven't they? And
yeah,
things like that. So, yeah, but I mean, the fan power in this country is quite massive. Could you imagine? I mean, look at the Super League. Just what was it,
yeah,
18 months ago? For the fan power then, you know, really did quite make an impression
hmm
on the owners, didn't it? And put a lot of the owners to shame. So, I think it would take a lot for them to try and change the game.
hmm
Um, The only thing that I think may come out of all this might be the Super League may rear its ugly head again. They may try start that off again,
I
but from
can't see
Bournemouth's
it.
point of view, it's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I think I can't see it. I can't see the Super League ever taking off. We've got the Champions League, for that, and that is the best of the best teams from each country.
Mm,
And that's how it should be. And if a team does surprise everybody and gets themselves into a Champions League spot, why shouldn't they take their place there?
absolutely,
We had it with
absolutely.
Leicester, for example. Leicester weren't in the Super League plan, so um, I think that the fan power will stop that. I think the fan power will stop that. Um, and there's been talks throughout, about Celtic and Rangers joining the Premier League. I personally, I think that's another bad idea. You know, they have been in the Scottish League. They should start from the very, very bottom if they want to join the English League.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, that's a old debate that hopefully doesn't rise again.
yeah, yeah, definitely. But yeah, it sounds like this is all done and dusted. And that is, some news that was breaking last night. And Sam, you're the one with the financial knowledge. It would also it makes sense if he gets it across the line now rather than waiting a bit longer because of the dollar against the pound.
Oh yeah, exactly. The way things are going, if he leaves it even longer, then yeah, um, do it now while it's dropped now because it could change again. Definitely.
Yeah, yeah. So there is that aspect to it as well. Um, what we're going to do is we will go on to and preview a little bit. We've got the preview with Natalie Sawyer, but we'll preview the Brentford game. But we're also going to remember some of the games against Brentford, both good and bad, in a moment. But I've left it a little bit later just to mix things up. But here's a bit about our sponsors, Dental on the Banks. find out what they can do for you, visit dentalonthebanks.co.uk. So let's talk about Brentford. So the Bees are coming down to Steencourt. It's weird that this is even a Premier League game because we're used to playing them at a lot lower level, aren't we, really?
Yeah, many battles over the years. But no, it just shows, fair play to both clubs for, fair play to Brentford for, stabilising last year in the Premier. And, obviously we've done it 5 years previous. Let's hope we can do it 5 years and beyond again. It's just credit to both clubs, really, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
12 years ago, playing each other in, the old Division 2, League 1, and now finally competing in the top division is great for both clubs. So should be an interesting game. We've had a lot of interesting games against Brentford over the years, and I can't see Saturday being any different.
Yeah, I think they're a very, very good side. They haven't changed things as much as, say, for example, Nottingham Forest has.
No.
They are very similar to the side that went up. And that is the similarities that they've got with us. Because we didn't, change things. Oh, okay, yes. If you compare the team, at the start of the Premier League years to the team that went down, there was a lot of new faces, but there was still players like Cookie who had got us there in the first place. Callum Wilson, there was all these players, who had been in the squad for so long. So they've done very similar to what we have. But do you think they're in danger because they've had some weird results, haven't they? They beat Man United, beat Leeds, but then got beat by Fulham, got beat by Arsenal by the same scoreline as we did, and couldn't beat Everton or Leicester City. In fact, that's Leicester's only point. What do you
Yeah,
make of Brentford?
Sam.
Yeah, I think they'll be all right. I don't think they would go down this year. I think it's a bit like Bournemouth. Like we're going to beat a team like Man United, but then we're going to lose against the bottom of the table. I think I think they hold on in the end. But yeah, I'm looking forward to Saturday. I think it will be a high-scoring game, more for the Bournemouth.
Yeah,
I'd be very surprised if Saturday's a dire 0-0. I mean, the only game I've really seen Brentford play this season was against United, and that day I thought their counter attacking was horrific. They could destroy people, and obviously they destroyed them that day. Whether United were having an off day or not, any team playing against Brentford that day would have struggled to contend with their counter attacking. I thought it was absolutely superb. So
yeah,
obviously, it might be a bit more of a cagey performance from Bournemouth. We might have to, play it a little bit differently. Might not be able to be so open at home like we are sometimes. Might have to be a little bit more patient. Because obviously we don't want to get hit on the counter attack. In terms of Ivan Toney, I know he's been him and Solanke have been compared quite heavily in the press conferences over the last day or so. We all know what Ivan Toney can do, what he's capable of, and we know that Lloyd Kelly's not going to make the game by the sounds of it. So Mepham and Sensei are going to have their hands full definitely on Saturday with Ivan. But yeah, I think it's going to be a very good game, be a great game for the neutral to watch. But yeah, I think we've just got to be a little bit more little. We will attack them obviously, but we've just got to be more on our guard for their counter attack. I think
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's talk about some previous games against Brentford. So, to be fair, we've shared divisions with them quite a lot throughout the years. And of course, we're finally back in the Premier League, sharing the Premier League with them, which, of course, there's never been a Premier League game between these two sides. So, what would you say, guys, are your biggest memories of playing Brentford throughout the years?
It's been some big ones. I'll let Sam go first because I know he's got an interesting one.
Well, yeah, the biggest one for me was obviously when we travelled up to Brentford. I believe it was for a cup game, and we eventually went on to lose 6-0. But the fans were still cheering, and we were still singing in the 80th minute, we're going to win 7-6.
Probably the best atmosphere of an away defeat I've ever been to. Because like Sam said, I think we were 4-0 down at one point, and we all start singing we're going to win 5-4, and we took a lot of fans up that for that game. It was the LDV vans, the Johnson Paint, the Papa John's. It was whatever it was called at the time.
Yeah.
Which I think was the LDV vans. I think at the time or something like that. So it wasn't the most important of cup games, but we took a lot up there on that Tuesday night, and it was actually the last game that Fletch was assistant manager for, because he actually resigned from the position the day after. Memory serves me right, and I think it was the game where Simon Francis made his debut. And so it was quite significant for a couple of reasons, but the fans were great on that night. Absolutely great.
So just looking at the statistics, we have got a worse record. So we've got 39 wins. Brentford have got 44, but honours even in 31 of those occasions. And yeah, of course, we did beat them in the Championship playoffs at Dean Court, but then, of course, there was that Metham pullback on Mbembo, which, of course, that resulted in us getting beat, but over accurate. But we do have some footage as well of a particular game, which actually comes from 1995. And this is quite a significant game, isn't it, Matt?
Yeah, this was the last game, the last away game of the Great Escape season, where we travelled up there. Obviously, Mel Machin in charge at the time, and there was a big atmosphere on this day. We'd had some good form up until this point. I remember Mel Machin saying that at Christmas that Bournemouth needed championship form to stay up, and at this point, Bournemouth were totally different side to they were at the beginning of the season. Brentford at the time were a difficult side, like they always have been. I think they were not too bad, doing too badly this season. Superb save there from Ian Andrews. It's a game that a lot of people didn't think we'd win until Scott Mean pops up with a screamer like that. Great player, Scott Mean. But you can never write Brentford off. And they came back. Disappointing one there for the keeper. But yeah, we had some good players out there that day. Steve Jones here, look, he's going straight through the defence there and scores the winner. But yeah, that day was I remember it being a great day in the crowd. And this is the last ditch bit of defending, and when the whistle went, literally the fans must have been chanting about Machin for about 15-20 minutes after the game. It was to a point where he actually come out at the end after about 10 minutes or so, and came and sort of fanned the fans, but which there he is. But yeah, no, that at the time that was one of the big days in our history, because obviously we knew if we could beat Shrewsbury,
Yeah.
and that was the first time all season that we'd come out of the relegation zone as well that day. So obviously when Machin took over, I think we had like 9 points at Christmas or something ridiculous like that, or 9 points after certain many games anyway. And yeah, it was the first time all season we come out of bottom three, so no, bottom four, sorry. And then obviously we had a midweek game against Shrewsbury, which we won, and obviously that was the icing on the cake for the Great Escape. But I mean, there's been that game, and obviously we talk about the playoff games. There's also the Fletcher hat trick game. Obviously Fletcher scored his hat trick on New Year's Day, didn't he? 2005 against Brentford. So there's a lot of memories down the years from playing Brentford, whether it be home or away. It was always one of my favourite away grounds to go to. It was just one of those grounds that just characteristics of it. You'll never see that in football again now with all these modern stadiums. Obviously, Griffin Park was surrounded by 4 pubs on each corner of the ground. You had the pubs, just a typical Victorian stadium. People wonder why I used to love going up there so much. I just used to think it was one of those grounds. I mean, I used to like going to the old Manor Ground at Oxford. The old grounds, used to have a certain character about them.
Yeah.
And Griffin Park definitely did. And but yeah, that game that day was massive. And what sticks in my mind from that game was just the blue and black stripe kit.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved that kit when I was a kid. And yeah, some good names out there. I mean, A.D. Pennick, who often gets forgotten about. I think Mark Morris was playing centre back with, I think, Rob Murray that day, I think. And, young Matty Holland was on loan. I think he come off the bench. Obviously we had Steve Jones, Steve Robinson.
Yeah.
Some great names. Neil Young, actually. So I think AD must have been playing centre back with Mark Morris, and Rob Murray must have been at left back, or vice versa, because Younger also played that game as well. So I mean, there's a lot of names that went on to do very well for Bournemouth. That come out of that Great Escape season. Obviously Big Fletch, he's always there, and he.
Oh yeah.
And it was back in the day when you could only have 3 substitutes as well, and one of them was normally a goalkeeper. So you didn't really have many options to change a game from the bench. So yeah, no, real classic game that will forever be in Bournemouth's history.
Yeah. Do you think we could have another classic, this weekend, when we do face them?
Obviously the importance of the game,
Yeah.
isn't like critical. Obviously every game in the Premier League, we need to pick up points at home.
Yeah.
So it is a big game. I mean, if we're going to do a prediction, I'm going to go with a 3-2 Bournemouth. I think there's going to be goals in the game.
I was going to say 3-2 as well.
I'm going to stick with my prediction from when I interviewed Natalie Sawyer, which is a 2-1 win for Bournemouth. Funny enough, she went the other way. So yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, we can get the 3 points. And of course, Gary O'Neill will remain unbeaten in the Premier League with a side that Scott Parker thought wasn't up to it.
Yeah, he's been having a lot of decent press lately. If you look across the media, whether it be online or in papers or whatever. And I think, to be honest, if he doesn't get the Bournemouth job, I don't think it'd be long before someone comes knocking on Bournemouth's door for his services, because he's not doing his reputation any harm, is he?
No.
I mean, I still think personally he's going to have the job until the World Cup, if not possibly January. But if the guy is picking up results and Bournemouth are in a healthy position, then I can't see the new ownership bringing in their own man. But then look what happened at Chelsea. So
See, this is what I'm thinking.
it'd be possible, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm starting to think that that they might bring in their own man, and but Gary O'Neill's done a fantastic job, and I think hands down, I think he deserves a chance to carry that on. Even if it's a contract till the end of the season, I think he's proved himself enough. When you think 5 points out of 3 games, and there's no easy games in this division, and you know, in those 3 games, conceding just the 3 goals. Of course, 2 against Forest, 1 against Newcastle. So, yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed that it continues, and I can't see no reason why not. Is there any other games that do stick out when we have the word Brentford?
Yeah. Obviously, I just previously mentioned it. The Steve Fletcher hat trick game.
Mhm.
He had a spell where he would always score a couple of goals, and you'd always think. I remember my old man, Sam might remember as well. Used to, as soon as Fletcher scored his second of the game, my old man would be like, "Yep, today he's getting his hat trick today. This is his day." And obviously, he wasn't right most of the time, but this game against Brentford. He was right because he did say it. He said, "Yeah, he's going to score this hat trick today. He'll get his third one," and eventually he did. Obviously, the game itself, didn't carry much significance to the outcome of the season. But obviously, on a personal level, for Fletcher, it was great to witness his hat trick that day. I'm just trying to think of some other ones that that stand out against Brentford. Obviously, the playoff one, which we've touched on.
Yeah.
It's a funny one because when you've played them, as much as we've played them, sometimes it's hard to remember all the games that we have had against them. But they always seem to be entertaining affairs anyway. Whether there's goals or not, but Saturday would definitely carry goals. There's enough goals on both sides, and it's going to be. I think it's going to be a really interesting game.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Well, let's talk about the Hall of Fame that we are doing. So there's 3 players up for this at the moment. Do go and vote on Twitter. You'll need to have a Twitter account, but I do have some stats, and these are the stats so far. So we have had 67 votes. It's only been up a couple of hours, but I think there's one clear winner at this moment in time, by the looks of things. In 3rd spot at the moment is Neil Young on 3% of the vote. Second, Sean O'Driscoll on 10.4%. But way out ahead is that man. We all know who he is. Big Un. Steve Fletcher, 86.6%. Surprised by that?
No, I suppose not really.
No.
Suppose not really. But yeah, we'll announce the winner on, I believe it'd be October the 14th or 15th, around then.
Yes. Yep.
And then we'll have another 3 contenders for November.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's also look at the Fantasy Football League. And we do have a new leader, don't we?
We don't actually have a new leader.
We don't.
We
Do
don't.
not.
We don't. He's doing well though, but we
Yeah.
don't have a new leader. We've still got the same leader at
Mhm.
the top, which is Josh Hill, who's smashing it at the minute, absolutely
Yeah.
smashing it. He's been top now for quite a while. I think he's been in the top 5 since it started. And he's on 623 points, I think it is. The
Mhm.
next one is Dan Seagrove, who's been waiting for his shout out.
There we are, Dan.
There you go, Daniel. You can stop moaning at us and training on a Monday night. 544 points. But then we still got James Hornby in the top 5. He's been in there for most of the season.
Mhm.
And we've got Connor the Dong and his Select 11 currently holding up 4th place. And then we've got Jay's Hot Shots in 5th place. So, Dan's broken into the top 5 and knocked a couple of the regular ones out. And just for bragging rights, I'm 7th.
Oh yeah.
You two ain't anywhere near me, so happy
Am I
days.
close to breaking into the top 5?
Of the division down, you are, yeah.
What about
I'm,
Sam?
I'm 16.
Yeah,
16th. I'm in the
I'm not
relegation zone, no doubt.
yeah, you're down there with I think Wiggy's Misfits, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, you keep trying.
Yeah. The wooden spoon might be arriving and just taking place on the mantelpiece. It looked lovely, won't it? Looked lovely. I'll even paint it red and black. There you go. So yeah, that is the Fantasy Premier League. Of course, we also do the predictions each week. And we have got some results as well, haven't we?
We have from last time, sorry.
Yeah.
So from all of the results, Matt finished third with 7 points. First, sorry, with 7 points. I finished second with 5, and Craig finished bottom of the pile with 1 point.
I'm not very good at this, am I?
There's a trend there, isn't there?
There is, yeah. Yeah. Maybe I shouldn't ever have a bet on the sport because I'll probably lose my money. But of course, we need to pick this week's games as well, don't we?
Oh yes, we
And
certainly do.
yep. So, what games are we going for?
Well, first one, I think we can't ignore it. Well, there's 2 games that I think we can't ignore this week. Which would be the derbies. So
Yeah.
first one would be Arsenal Tottenham. And then we will have, obviously on the Sunday we'll have Man City, Manchester United.
Hmm.
And I'm gonna throw in there. So I think it could be interesting. Southampton, Everton.
Right. Shall we go through those? So, do you want to go first, Sam, or shall I?
You're on
You
mute.
can go first.
Right. So, Arsenal Spurs.
Arsenal Spurs. Be a good game, I think.
It will be. It will be, and I think it'll be close.
First versus third, I believe, isn't it?
Yeah. I think Arsenal just got a little bit too much this season, and I'm going to go for a 2-1 Arsenal win. Manchester Derby. Is it at the Etihad?
Yes, it is. It is.
Personally, I don't think Man United have been that great. They didn't start off very well. They've picked it up a bit now, but I still think City will be able to do them over. And I'm going to go for a 3-1 win. And then Southampton Everton.
Southampton, Everton.
That is a bloody tough one. Because personally, I don't think either side are very good. Are Everton better than Southampton, or are Southampton better than Everton? I think I'm going to sit on the fence, and I'm going to go for a 0-0 ball draw.
Okay.
So, Sam, it's your go, mate.
Yeah, so for City United, I'll go for a 3-0 City win. For Arsenal Tottenham, I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. And I'm going to say Southampton will snatch it 2-1 against Everton.
Go on, Matt. You got to make the final predictions on this slot.
Well, I'm going to go 3-2 Arsenal. 3-2 Arsenal. United, City, no matter what form United are in, they always seem to sometimes turn up for these games, don't they? So I think on the back of recent results, though, I think City would do them 3-1. I think City are too strong. Everton, Southampton. Lewin's meant to be coming back, but I don't know how much difference he's going to make. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw.
No, fair enough. Fair enough. And then we have got some other games as well, haven't we?
We've got our standard one from the Championship, and our one from League One, and our one from League Two. So from the Championship, we're going to go with Rotherham versus Wigan.
Right. Okay. That's a difficult one. They've both been promoted. Rotherham have changed their manager. Well, Paul Warne's left recently. Wigan probably thinking this is probably the ideal time to play them. But Rotherham do look a decent side this year. So I am going to go for a Rotherham 1-0 win.
1-0. Oh, Sam, what do you reckon then?
I'll go for a Rotherham 2-0 win.
Okay, well, I'm going to back Wigan, and I'm going to say they're going to win 2-1.
Right, there we go. Let's go for League One.
Let's go for League One. So we're going to go with... I'm going to go with Accrington versus Morecambe.
Accrington, Morecambe. Crikey. Accrington are a side that it's very difficult to dislike, aren't they, really? I don't know if you've seen what they've actually done this week, but giving out loads and loads of goodie bags for, kids at school. They really are a community club. I'm not just saying this because, of how good of some, they are to people in the community. But I don't think Morecambe are very good at all. They're right down the bottom. I'm going to go for a big one. A 4-0 Accrington win.
Samuel.
Let's go for a 2-0 Accrington win.
And I'm going to go with a... I am going to go with... It's a tricky one. I'm going to go... Do you know what? I'm just going to chuck it out there. I'm going to go 5-0. 5-0 Accrington.
5-0 Accrington. Well, some big scores there.
Big scores.
For Accrington, so hopefully they'll do the business for us.
Don't let us down.
don't let us down. But I think they're one for an accumulator. To be honest, I shouldn't say that because now everybody's going to put them on money on them, and then Morecambe's going to turn up now.
Yeah, more than likely.
Yeah, no, my track record.
League Two. Our friend Mr. Bradbury's ex-club, Crawley versus Stevenage.
Crawley Stevenage. And it's at Crawley, is it?
It's at Crawley.
Right. Well, Stevenage are near the top of that league. A couple of years ago, they should have been relegated out of the Football League. But of course, there was the Bury and the Macclesfield situation that, saved them. I am going to go, though, because I think Crawley is struggling. I'm going to go for a 2-1 win for Stevenage.
Samuel?
3-0 Stevenage.
I'm backing Crawley. I'm going to go 2-0 Crawley. They're going to turn it around.
There you go.
And then the random one.
Yes.
Now, I'm not quite as adventurous as you, Craig. I don't tend to read like the Kazakhstan sport. But I am going to go with, now, the Irish Premiership.
Yep.
Carrick Rangers versus Crusaders.
I don't know anything about either of those two teams. I was hoping you was going to say something like Shamrock Rovers.
Or Bohemians or someone like that.
Yeah, I know Shamrock Rovers are, the top team in Ireland at the moment. Or I believe they are. What are the teams again?
Carrick Rangers.
Carrick Rangers, yeah.
Versus Crusaders. So don't forget, you got the Irish Premiership.
Mm-hmm.
But then you also have the Irish Premier Division. So I think it's one Northern and one Republic. I'm not sure, but we're going with Carrick Rangers versus Crusaders.
I am going to go, to be honest, this is more difficult than the Mexican League. I am going to go for Carrick Rangers 2-1.
Samuel.
He's on mute again.
Go for 3-1 Crusaders.
3-1 Crusaders. And I'm going to go with a boring 0-0 draw.
There we go. Well, that's those scores. And hopefully, I need to do a little bit better this week. So that is hopefully I'll be able to move my way up the table, because no doubt I'm bottom as it stands. But of course, we have had the interview with Lee Bradbury. We've got Natalie Sawyer, the opposition preview show. We've also got Mark Crossley. I know the game is being gone, but there's some great stories in there, isn't there, Matt?
Yeah, some good old Cluffy stories.
And we have got some special shows coming up as well. But just keep your eyes peeled. Make sure you hit that like, that subscribe button. It does help the channel to grow as well. So do make sure you do all of that as well. To be alerted to, what is coming up. But it's all being kept under wraps at the moment. But until the next one, and of course, we will have our free-for-all after the Brentford game. Do get involved. You're more than welcome to. If you do want to help contribute to this channel in any way, the channel email address is down the bottom as well. So do get in contact with any of us, because it will be really interesting to hear your thoughts. And we've also got this Cherries Extra channel, haven't we? Which we are looking for people to send in their videos. And the best way to do this is via WeTransfer. So go to the website WeTransfer, record your video, send it to us on that email address, and then it will be put on Cherries Extra and be out there for everybody to see. So yeah, of course you've already done a couple, Matt, haven't you?
Yeah, a couple of books.
Yes, yeah. So do head over there and do subscribe to that channel as well, where there will be all short videos. They're going to be, we'll also do something with regards to the team lineups once they're announced as well. So, you know, by all means, please do get involved. But until the next video, up the cherries, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for joining us.